Welcome to Concrete Block, the podcast where we dive into the latest news and current events shaping our world. I'm your host, Walter. Today, we're going to explore a fascinating analysis piece from Foreign Policy that caught my attention. The article discusses the ongoing conflicts in Ukraine and the Middle East, and how they are often misconstrued as being on the brink of escalating into a global war. The author, Jo Inge Bekkevold, a senior China fellow at the Norwegian Institute for Defense Studies, presents a compelling argument that despite the complexities and interconnectedness of these regional conflicts, they remain largely contained within their respective regions. Bekkevold suggests that the involvement of global powers like the United States and China in these conflicts does not necessarily mean that we are on the cusp of another world war. One of the key points made in the article is that bipolar international power structures, such as the current dynamic between the United States and China, tend to be more stable and less conflict-prone than multipolar systems. Additionally, the presence of nuclear weapons has reduced the risk of large-scale great power war. However, Bekkevold also notes that there is a possibility that a conflict between the two superpowers could remain limited, depending on how they manage the risk of escalation. The article also touches on the importance of avoiding rhetorical escalation and the need for nuanced analysis and understanding the complexities of global conflicts. As Bekkevold aptly puts it, war of any kind is better avoided, and escalation into a broader conflagration doubly so. This sentiment couldn't be more relevant in today's chaotic world. As we continue to navigate the intricacies of global politics, it's essential to approach these issues with a critical and balanced perspective. We must consider multiple viewpoints and avoid sensationalism, which can often perpetuate misinformation and fuel unnecessary fear. We'll be right back with more of today's top news on Concrete Block. Welcome back to Concrete Block. We're diving into a complex issue that's been making waves in the world of politics. A recent survey has found that most Republicans no longer rely solely on President Trump's word when it comes to evaluating the fairness and integrity of elections. Instead, they're turning to other sources, such as local and state election officials, local TV news, and even family members. This shift in perspective is interesting, especially considering the president's repeated claims of election fraud in the past. Some Democrats believe that these claims are a pretext for potential election interference in the upcoming midterms. On the other hand, some Republicans argue that measures like the Save America Act, which requires proof of citizenship to register to vote, are necessary to ensure legitimate voting. It's essential to note that studies have shown that non-citizens rarely vote, and critics worry that such legislation could disenfranchise millions of Americans who don't have easy access to documents like birth certificates or passports. The debate surrounding election security and integrity is multifaceted, with valid concerns on both sides. As we explore this topic further, it's crucial to consider the potential implications of these claims and policies on our democratic process. We must strive for fairness, transparency, and accuracy in our elections, while also protecting the rights of all eligible voters. The fact that younger Republicans, like Harrison Smetana, president of the Lehigh University College Republicans, seem less invested in the president's fraud claims suggests a potential shift in the party's focus. As we move forward, it will be fascinating to see how these dynamics play out and how they might impact the future of our elections. Welcome back to the Concrete Block. We're wrapping up today's show with a fascinating story about U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance and his delicate balancing act regarding the Iran war. As a former non-interventionist, Vance has found himself in a tricky spot, needing to demonstrate loyalty to President Trump while also catering to his own base of conflict-skeptic supporters. Vance's actions and statements have been closely scrutinized, with some critics arguing that he's struggling to reconcile his past anti-war stance with his current role in the administration. Despite this, Vance has continued to publicly back Trump's Iran operation, emphasizing that it won't be another forever war. The situation is further complicated by the looming 2028 presidential election, where Vance is expected to face off against Secretary of State Marco Rubio. Both men have been vying for Trump's endorsement, but it remains to be seen how their respective positions on foreign policy will play out with voters. It's worth noting that Vance has a history of adapting his views to suit the political climate. In the past, he's compared Trump to Nazi leader Adolf Hitler, only to later become one of his closest allies. This chameleon-like ability to shift his stance may serve him well in the cutthroat world of politics, but it also raises questions about his authenticity and commitment to core principles. As we consider the complexities of Vance's situation, it's essential to approach the topic with nuance and understanding. The interplay between politics, loyalty, and personal conviction is always multifaceted, and it's crucial to acknowledge the various factors at play. That's all for today's Concrete Block. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and until next time, stay informed.